It's logged in and ready to go live. Something with that. Are you making it live or is Seth going live with the lady?
Can you do it remote? I don't even know. You have to hit a button.
He said it's live, so we're good.
Perfect.
Okay.
Excellent. All right, let's call this meeting of the People's School Board to order. First item on the agenda is allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
And to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next item on the agenda is roll call. Emily? Yes. Cody? Doug? Marissa? Yes. So on the agenda, I will require a motion to approve. Is it an amended agenda?
Nope, that should have been taken off first.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
Strike through amended. I will require a motion to approve the agenda. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Carissa. Do I have a second? Second by Cody. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next on the agenda, conflict of interest disclosures. I received none.
I received none as well.
Next on the agenda, public input.
There was none.
Next item on the agenda is consent agenda. Will require a motion to approve the following: the minutes of the regularly scheduled school board meeting on March 9th, 2023. The minutes of the Corbelt Cooperative Board of Advisors meeting on March 14th, 2023. The minutes of the special board meeting on March 28th, 2023. The resignation of Sally Gimbel, paraprofessional, and we thank her for her service. The hiring of Angela Letcher, assistant volleyball coach for the 2023 season. Financial reports and claims. Do I have a motion? Motion by Doug. Do I have a second? Second by Carissa. All in favor say aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Always putting you to sleep. Next on the agenda, administrative reports. Elementary principal.
We did our kindergarten roundup, and it looks like our kindergarten class is going to be at 16 next year, which is fantastic. Kindergarten classes. Now, the thing that probably worries me a little bit about the future kindergarten classes is we only screen the high school kids. We only screen 12. Last year we screened 12. So I don't know if we didn't get a good turnout. I mean, we put it everywhere. Melinda did last year on social media and the newspaper and everything else. That number was a little worrisome.
Well,
High school, or any questions on those?
no, I was just saying my son will be like 4 children, so it's probably okay.
High school musical is, high school's going to do a musical matinee for the elementary on the 14th at 2 p.m. Severe Weather Week is coming up. I believe it's April 17th through the 21st, and then the statewide tornado drill on the 19th at 10 a.m. We have the April 20th, the flower invite, and school dismisses at noon. The elementary music contest is on May 5th, so there's no school at elementary on May 5th. Elementary rally day is going to be on Friday, May 12th, and then if that's rainy, we'll try to get it in on that following Monday on the 15th. Our Smarter Balance testing continues. We're almost done at the elementary. And then Mrs. Whiff took the following students to Honor Band, and I have the kids listed that made the Honor Band. Honor Band's a little bit different. Honor course, they had to tape themselves and submit to some judges at the state level. This is done on local recommendations. So, but those are the kids in that got to go with her and participate in Honor Band.
Thanks, Shane. Next on the agenda, high school principal administrative report.
Congratulations to Kate Miller. I selected her to attend the governor's banquet in Pierre. So Freeman gets to choose one senior from the graduating class to go there based on the top 1% of their class. So Kate was chosen to do that. I believe that's taking place on April, maybe like the 24th, I believe. I will be gone that week, so Ms. Sweeter is going to go with her. So. And then congrats to our track team. They took on a challenge for Kobe Sherman. They ran 610 laps collectively as a team. So all of the funds that they raised will be presented in a check at our track meet next week. So thanks to our coaches for organizing that as well. So we had the highway patrol presentation come. I thought that went well. They, talked about the dogs and what they do and what they can do for high schools as well. So I thought that was good. A big thanks to Alyssa Dent and Mrs. Sheila Whiff. They set up the blood drive. That we had that in our gym this time, so we had a little less wooziness. Didn't have anybody falling over or passing out this time. So that was good. I believe we had 42 units donated. So I think it was like 140 some potential lives saved. So also, if you in your high school career donate twice, you get a red cord for graduation. So I think we had this time 8 first-time donors. So they're working on, the more cords, the better. So that's one of the things they're working on. So a big thanks to our junior class and all prom advisors, Heidi Schrog, April Gosen, Sherry Rembold, Peggy Weltner, Austin Unruh, for making prom a success. I mean, I know we had to make it a shorter night, but all in all, I think it went well. And then great job to our 7th and 8th grade chorus students, and then our 7th through 12 band students, and our directors, Mrs. Whiff, Miss Luter, and Mrs. Woltner, on our successful spring concert. Freeman Regional is hosting a Scrubs camp here on April 26th. I know I said that last time. I just want to say that again so we know that that's happening. Students that are interested, they'll get their paper turned in by the 14th, so we'll know about how many kids will be coming this week. And then that is open to area schools as well. So we're going to have that in the elementary gym and funnel them in and out of there so they're not disrupting any part of our building during that day. We'll have classes as normally scheduled. So on the upcoming events, I just want to point out that our musical will take place 2 nights on the 14th and the 15th at 7:30 p.m. It's about an hour long, so that's something to look forward to and to show up to. We are doing a matinee at 2 o'clock during the day for K-12, so they'll have 3 total performances. And then that flyer invite will be here. That's where we'll present that Kobe Sherman check, so that's exciting. Come out and watch them at that time. And then we have 2 more track meets, the Wizards, which is the junior high one, on the 1st, and then the Don Didi on the 2nd. As long as the weather is good, like it has been today, we'll do that. And then our first softball game here is on the 25th. Is that the first one? Do we have one
Actually,
here?
we added a game. We're going to play Monday.
Monday. Okay. Added a game for
We added
Monday.
a game with Bonham, and I think we can play it on the Freeman field.
Yeah.
Field looks good today.
Okay. So come out and check that out. And graduation's on the 13th. So
Awesome. Okay, Katie? Next item on the agenda, Superintendent Administrative Report.
4 items for you tonight. The first is the curriculum review process for our ELA curriculum that we've been talking about for the last couple months is wrapping up. So we received quotes last Thursday. We'll discuss these quotes at the cabinet meeting tomorrow. I've added into your packets a copy of that quote that we received. We'll talk about it at the cabinet level and determine what the next steps will be moving forward. If the administrative team does decide that we're in a crunch and we want to accelerate that process to make sure that we have that curriculum by the start of next school year, we may be determining that there's a need for a special board meeting to discuss the curriculum and then potentially for the board to approve that purchase. But we want to make sure that we thoroughly go through this process. It is a very expensive investment for the districts. We want to make sure that we're crossing T's, dotting I's, and making sure that we're doing that process right. We have 2 positions that are open at Cheddar Colony. One is a teaching position and one is a paraprofessional position. So that's, we're getting late in the year here, so that's worrisome that we haven't had a single applicant for either one of those positions. One is understandable because it's just a recent resignation for that para position. But we'll be discussing what our backup plan would be if we do not get any applicants for that position in the next couple weeks moving forward. I've received a quote that's also in your packets from Pro Track and Tennis. I ran this through the Facilities and Grounds Committee. They determined that this was something that was needed and something that we wanted to move forward with. Christy and I have been talking about this since last fall. So the cracks that are out there, they look pretty nasty right now, and that's pretty common that over the course of the winter months that they expand and they're even larger than what they were last fall. As the weather warms up, they'll start to tighten up a little bit, but that's really important, why we want to get those cracks filled now, so when it does tighten up, it has a good bond in those cracks. And there's one area that there's a little dip that had a little bit of a soft spot, and we just want to make sure that that's not a trip hazard on the track, and we're hopeful that we can get that fixed by the 20th. If it doesn't happen by the 20th, it'll happen by the 1st, so that'll be something that's going to be happening very shortly. And then I also accepted the quote for the indoor batting cages. The feedback that I got from that company is installation takes about four weeks to go through the design phase, then an additional 4 weeks to go through arranging to have them on site and actually performing the install. So we're looking at about 6 to 8 weeks before that project will start. That's all I had.
Awesome, thank you. Next on the agenda, business?
None.
Next on the agenda, new business. Number one, the school board will hold a discussion about making up the recent snow day.
Yeah, for this one, I just wanted to have an open discussion and more clarification than anything else. We talked about at one of our last meetings that we would not add, we'd add those 2 days, additional days on the 15th and the 16th, and that we would not add any additional days after that. We had talked about student contact days, and I just want to make sure that I'm clear on what the board's direction was on that one. Are we talking student contact days and staff days, or were we discussing student contact days for after the 15th?
I think it's reasonable to extend to both, unless anybody else has any strong feelings.
Yeah, I thought that's where we were going with that, is staff and students.
Yep.
That was my understanding as well.
That's reasonable, but I think it's good to just clarify. Yeah, that sounds good.
Very good.
Okay, next on the agenda, the school board will hold an update from the policy review committee and perform the first reading of the following policies: library materials selection and adoption, public complaints about the curriculum or instructional materials, and public complaints about the curriculum or instructional materials, request for reconsideration of instructional materials.
So I have included that in your packet. You look at, and I have those red lined with what was discussed at the policy review committee meeting, and I'll turn over to the policy review committee to discuss.
Okay, so first off, we'll have a committee, right? We currently don't have a committee.
Currently do not. That's in the process of being set up, yep.
We'll have a committee. I don't really remember what they do until if there's a problem, then there's the form to fill out, but
Discuss the first one.
yeah.
So for the first policy that you see in your packets, that highlights what the process would be if there is a concern, basically and the review process, I'm sorry. So what we're looking at is the review committee would be developed, and they would assist us with reviewing the materials, the content that we're determining will be recommended to our principals to be added to our library collection. Once the library review committee reviews that content, and that would also include recommendations from teachers, from students, that's highlighted in this policy. So that would work up to the library review committee. Library review committee, which has staff members on it, would then pass it on to the principals. Principals would then ask for any guidance or assistance from the superintendent. So we have a clear step-by-step process that would work through, with the idea of that having that many different eyes that are looking at it, so that hopefully we catch everything that maybe has any content, that it would be more adult level content than student level content, and that it would prevent things from getting into our library that shouldn't be in our library. Now that's in a perfect world. There may still be cases, because it's very difficult when you're talking a 700-page novel that is a bestseller across the nation. It's hard to know every single specific about what's within that book. So there is a chance that we could miss something, and something may work its way into our library that shouldn't be there, that has some adult content. And people are humans, and we're going to do our best to make sure with that multi-step process that doesn't happen. But should it happen, the next policies would be something that would be important for us to make sure that we work any existing content out, or that we are able if anything is newly added and is caught by a student or a parent, that they would know how to report. Should I keep going, or?
Go ahead.
Okay. So the next policy, the second policy, is the public complaints about the curriculum or instructional materials. So this would be something that would be a concern across the board for any content that we have that we're delivering to our students in our building. And that process would be that down at the bottom, step number 1, the material in question should first be discussed with the teacher if it's a classroom curriculum issue. If it's a library book issue, then a member of the library committee would be one that would be contacted and set up a meeting to discuss the concern that they have with that content. With the idea of, just like our parent communication protocol that we use for activities, we want to go directly to the source right away. And if it can be handled at that level, then great. That's what we're looking for here, and that's the most healthy way that we can handle things. And then if satisfaction is not reached, the complainant may continue to step 2, which then would be to schedule a meeting with the principal and the teacher or the member of the library committee. And same thing, we're working through that chain of command, that communication protocol, and taking it to that next step would be the principal. If satisfaction is still not gained by the complainant after that, then the requirement for the request for reconsideration of instructional materials, which also encompasses library books, would need to be filled out, and that's the last policy that you see in this packet. That would need to be filled out prior to a meeting with the superintendent. And it states in there the superintendent will form a separate, this is not the library, this is where it gets a little confusing, it's not the library committee, this would be a separate review committee that would consist of the building principal, 2 building teachers, and 2 members of the library committee, and the superintendent to review that request for reconsideration of instructional materials. And then if there is still after that, a meeting is held with the complainant, if there still is concerns, they have the ability to bring their concern to the board. So that's the 5-step process that we think is very, very thorough. This is something that was a model policy on the ASBSD model policy website that I was able to research and find and talk with teachers and get feedback from teachers about what they thought should be added, and just tweak it to make it our own, and then ran it by the policy review committee, and they felt that this was adequate for a first reading. Steps moving forward that I would like to go through is, once we develop this library committee, I would like to attend the first meeting. I think it would be important that I only attend the first meeting, because if I were part of that meeting in that process, I cannot be somebody that's another step in the process later on if I'm part of step 1. The purpose for me attending that meeting would be, since we're looking at our developing our policy and our steps moving forward, I would like to explain this to them as well and just be there as a sounding board if they have any questions, and then also to gather feedback. So I intend that would happen prior to our next board meeting, and then I would bring feedback that potentially the library committee would have for the second reading of this policy.
That sounds great. Getting feedback from teachers and whatnot's really important, so I appreciate all their time and looking over that policy. Any other discussion or updates?
How many, like roughly each year, how many books would we be talking about? I'm just thinking about the library committee and the size of it and the amount of time it's gonna take up for people. How many new books would you say you other than donations, like purchase, is it?
I don't know the answer to that. I think it just depends on what kind of money's in the budget for it. Like we said on the high school end, we don't have as much as what we would on the elementary end because they have that book fair.
Yeah.
But we have talked about potentially doing a book fair on this end just so we could get some more books in. So Debbie, what do you think for when April orders those books? I always see the stack, right, that she has. I would say at least 50.
$50 worth, I think is what I put on the survey.
So the committee's gonna be fairly large, I would assume, because that's a lot of stuff for a small group of people to go through. Not that they're gonna read every one of them, but
Right.
we wanna split it up so everybody could vet a few and call it good.
Yeah, they're gonna have to come up with a system for how they put them in, I think.
Okay. Any other discussion? Great. right, next on the agenda will require a motion to approve the following school district policies that are listed there. Those are all ones that we have discussed previously, and this would be the final reading. Is there any further discussion or questions on any of those? We discussed them pretty thoroughly, yeah. Then do I have a motion to approve them?
So moved.
Motion by Carissa, do I have a second? Second by Cody, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next item on the agenda will require a motion to approve a resolution for the membership to the South Dakota High School Athletic Association for the 2023-2024 school year. This is something that we do every year. Do I have a motion? Motion by Cody, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Doug, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Next item on the agenda will require a motion to approve a resolution for participation with the Associated School Boards Protective Trust School District Benefits Fund for fiscal year 2024. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Doug, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Carissa, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next on the agenda will require a motion to approve the surplus of the following items, which I believe are in the packet here. In the Better Colony, correct?
Jane, you got anything to add to what's listed in their packet?
I had my teacher at Wolf Creek review it just to make sure.
Oh, perfect.
it was curriculum. She
Okay.
thought a lot of it was just sample stuff from past curriculum reviews.
Okay, great. Wonderful. Then do I have a motion to approve the surplus of those items?
So moved.
Motion by Carissa, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Cody. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next on the agenda is executive session. Will require a motion to enter executive session for the purpose of South Dakota Codified Law 1-25-2 parentheses 1. Do I have a motion? Motion by Cody. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Doug. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. In executive session at 7:22 PM. Thank you, everybody.